So these are my top 5 title contenders. Now, I didn't just look at the records and just take the top 5 teams and say they're going to win the title because I don't feel that way at all. There's some teams that, even though they're really good in the regular season, I don't see them doing anything come playoff time. But yeah, these are my top 5 teams in the NBA. Win the title, that is. What you're thinking, oh, the Lakers won one game and now you have them as title contenders. Well, I felt this way the minute they traded for Luka Doncic. The LA Lakers, to me, are probably the biggest wild card on this list. They have the lowest and highest ceiling probably on this list as well. The Lakers could probably lose in the first round, and I wouldn't be shocked. They could get swept in the first round, wouldn't be shocked. And they could also go out and win the title in, like, dominant fashion, and I'd be like, oh, shit, look. I mean, Luka, LeBron, I can see how this happened. The main inclusion on this list is these two guys right here. I think when we look back on it, we're going to say, wow, the Lakers had two probably top 15 players all time. When it's all said and done, top 10 players of all time maybe on the same team. And I know LeBron's not in his prime necessarily, but even LeBron at 40 years old is still, in my opinion, probably a top 10 player in the NBA right now. I think the next 30 games are the most important for the LA Lakers out of anyone on this list. They've been top 5 in defense for like 20 games now, which can't really be a fluke after 20 games, I'm not going to lie. And just overall, I think that LeBron and Luka offensively are going to operate at such a level, and they're just so superhumanly gifted offensively that I think they can take over a playoff game. The guy I'm going to talk about here is JJ Redick. And sorry, I can't talk about every single player on the Lakers bench. You know, this is a video, not a documentary, so I'm going to be briefly talking about every team. And yeah, JJ Redick has actually been a really good coach. I want to point this out because a lot of people thought JJ Redick was a stupid hire. People thought JJ Redick was like a LeBron hire, a LeBron tool. And JJ Redick's been really good for them. Like, he's proven to be probably one of the most promising young coaches in the NBA. Obviously, he might be a little overrated because he's a Lakers coach, but he's actually taken on probably the hardest job in basketball and looked really good while doing it. This is the best record they've had through 50-some games in a long time. And I think JJ Redick's going to be great for them come playoff time. He really seems to know the X's and O's of basketball, and he really seems committed to being like an amazing head coach, which the Lakers haven't had in a while. Alongside these two kings right here, slowly becoming my two favorite. I don't know if you can really call Austin Reeves a role player necessarily. He's kind of more of a young star than he's a role player, but I'll just call him my two favorite role players in the NBA. Rui Hachimura has been actually great defensively for the Lakers, which no one's going to talk about because everyone just cares about offense. Rui's been really good on defense. And Austin Reeves, ever since he put on all those extra accessories, has been playmaking really well. His scoring numbers are up. His shooting, he's looked great. Yeah, I think the Lakers are pretty much the 5th most likely team to win the title right now, but things could change as the season progresses for the Thunder. Now, I know you might be watching this and like, whoa, how does the Thunder have the best record in the NBA and they're not higher on this list? Don't trust their guys out of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, I know SGA is going to be pretty good in the playoff series. I have no idea what to expect from J-Dub. Don't know what to expect from Chet Holmgren either. He's a guy who's been injured for like half the season. I just think as a team, like, they don't have enough star power for me to just write them into Western Conference Finals, winning the championship like everyone else has. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't like a Thunder hate video, okay? I know the Thunder haven't one of the best regular seasons of recent memory. They're really good. They have a lot of young talent. But to me, they're still too much of like a wild card for me to put them as high as other people have them. I know a lot of people that have them like as shoo-ins for the Western Conference. Not in the Western Conference. People have them in the NBA Finals already. Like, this is a real thing. And although they're great, and I know SGA is great, there's just too many questions for me with the rest of their team. I also think this guy right here is overrated as hell. Just wanted to throw that out there. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't like a hate video. I'm going to talk about one of the bright spots outside of SGA, and that's Dort. I really like Dort on like pretty much anyone in the Western Conference on ball. I think he'll do a number on a guy like Kyrie Irving if they had to play the Mavericks in the first round. I think he'd do a number on a guy like Jamal Murray. We've seen him do okay with Luka Doncic, but it's like, I think people kind of overrated that series last year. Luka Doncic was still torching him. He just wasn't giving him 45-point triple-doubles like, you know, he does to everyone else. But yeah, Dort's a great defender, probably the best perimeter defender in the NBA, so he'll be a handful in the playoffs. It would be a crime to talk about the Thunder and not bring up SGA. Now, look, even though I don't think he should be the MVP, he's putting up an MVP-level campaign. Like, let's just face it, he's probably going to win the award anyway. He's going to be good in the playoffs. Like, I don't really think that SGA is going to have a huge drop-off, even though I do know the whistle dies a little bit in the playoffs, so he might not get to the free throw line as much. But I do think SGA is probably going to be good for 30 points a night come playoff time. My thing with SGA is how much can he overcompensate for not having like a second true star? And I know Jalen Williams was on the All-Star team. I don't think Jalen Williams in the playoffs is going to be some like world beater, this actual like sidekick to SGA. You know what I mean? I think that he's going to be asked to do a little bit too much come playoff time. And that's why I don't really see them winning a championship this year. But I wouldn't be surprised to win the championship because they've only lost 10 games all season so far. So, yeah, they're contenders, but I don't have them as high as everyone else. That's why this is kind of like a pessimistic look on them. But obviously, SGA and the Thunder could win the championship. Now we get to talk about my beloved Cleveland Cavaliers. On everyone else's soul besides mine, they're a lock to win the championship. I'm going to try to be very objective here. They're obviously winning the championship. Oh, the Cavs are third. Like, they're clearly third to me. They're basically the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, they're having the exact same season. I just think they have a way better roster than OKC. Like, OKC is kind of outperforming the roster. I think Cleveland has an absolutely stacked roster, and that's why I think they're higher on the list. I could talk for days about how good Cleveland's roster is. I think Cleveland has the best roster in the NBA straight up. I don't even think it's that close. I think the Cavaliers are, like, far and away the best roster, like the best team in the NBA. They have the most good players in basketball. The only reason why I don't think they can be higher than the next two teams on this list is because I simply think that Donovan Mitchell isn't like a top 5 player in the NBA. I'm sorry. Now, Donovan Mitchell, if you're hearing this, I love you. You're my favorite player of all time. It hurts me to say it. I don't think Donovan Mitchell's top 5, and that's what holds them back just a little bit. But I still think you can easily win an NBA title with Donovan Mitchell as your best player. I don't think he's like this, bum outside of the top 10 guy that, like, oh, you can't win the title with John Morant. Yeah, the Cavs have the best offense in the NBA right now. Like, they average about 120 points a game. They're the best three-point shooting team in the NBA. They have all the makings of a championship team, okay? A lineup of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. You just don't want to face that in a playoff series. And I don't know if a team can beat them 4 times. I'm being dead ass. The only reason I can't put them higher is because I think that some of the other teams just have a better number one guy. But I think when it comes to just pure team, Cleveland, elite defense, elite offense, best shooting. They're extremely well coached. I'm going to talk about him in a second. But yeah, the Cavaliers, super deep bench too. Ty Jerome, Sam Merrill. Like, this is a team to win the title. This, right now, if the Cavaliers, you told me fast forward to June and they won the title, I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. The Cavs are by far the best team in the NBA. Honestly, if you're a salty Thunder fan and you're going to give me shit because I didn't talk about Isaiah Joe, respectfully, just piss the hell off, okay? The Cavaliers have a real bench. They have actual guys that can come off the bench and get their own bucket. They're not reliant and beholden to King SGA, The Cavaliers have the deepest team in the NBA. They have 2 amazing bigs. Like, this is a team to win the title. This is by far this is my favorite team in the NBA right now, but the other 2 teams ahead of them just have a slightly higher ceiling because of their best guy. Better than Chet. Here comes the Kenny Atkinson appreciation portion of the video. Kenny Atkinson is the GOAT, okay? Kenny Atkinson, in my opinion, has been the best coach in the NBA this season. If he doesn't win Coach of the Year, then the award just should disappear because he's clearly been the best coach in the NBA. He's mastered rotations, okay? For somebody who has so many good players, he's mastered the art of the rotation. Fellow NBA terrorist Steve Kerr should take a note from his book, okay? Kenny Atkinson, absolutely a goated coach. And yeah, he raises the ceiling for the Cavs. Back to the regular schedule programming, the Denver Nuggets. Now, the only reason this team is here is because they have the best player in the world. I'm going to be straight up. I don't really like the Denver Nuggets. There's a couple pieces on this team that I'm not a fan of. Their bench is not really that nice to me, but they have the GOAT. They have the best player in basketball right now. They have arguably already a top 12 player in the NBA ever in his prime, at the peak of his powers, having the greatest regular season of all time. So yeah, Nikola Jokic, this is kind of like the 2018 LeBron thing where the Cavs suck, but since they have LeBron, they can win the finals. That's Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. That's why they're second on this list. Before someone harasses me, why aren't the Thunder higher? They have a better roster than the Nuggets and they have SGA. Doesn't that same thing apply to SGA? No, he's not that guy. I'm going to briefly talk about the Denver Nuggets. They're not that interesting to me to talk about. They've been around for a while. We know what we're getting with the Nuggets. Jamal Murray goes Super Saiyan in the playoffs. Amazing player in the playoffs. Aaron Gordon's a really good defender in the playoffs, but he's getting a little older, but still Aaron Gordon's really nice. And Michael Porter Jr. is going to be good 1 out of every 3 games, maybe every other game. So yeah, the Nuggets, interesting team. Their bench is going to suck. They're only going to go 7 or 6 guys deep into the bench, pause. But yeah, that's kind of where the Denver Nuggets sit. Russell Westbrook's going to be interesting in the playoffs. I do think, again, the Nuggets can win the title. They have enough of a roster. I'm not saying the Nuggets suck or anything. I just think the, Julian Strawder minutes and, the Peyton Watson minutes and stuff like that are kind of grim when it's a playoff series against, the LA Lakers and someone has to guard LeBron. I think those minutes get kind of, grim. Big shout out to Michael Malone. I love this guy right here. Great coach, and he adds to the Nuggets' chances. But we all knew it was coming. The Boston Celtics. Now, again, another team that I don't care to talk about. They've been around forever. It feels like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were just, hatched into the NBA in the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been playing in the playoffs for how long now? So, yeah, the Celtics are kind of a tired thing to talk about. But we still have to talk about them. The most likely team to win the championship. They just won it. They just showed they can win it. Jason Tatum is putting up another MVP caliber season that no one's talking about. Jason Tatum is like top 3 in MVP for me right now. He's clearly been the 3rd best player in the NBA, like clearly. Now, obviously, you would never give most improved player to a player as good as Jason Tatum, but I do think that Jason Tatum has impressed me the most since he got into the NBA. Like, this is his biggest leap, in my opinion, from a year to year. He finally looks comfortable playing like that point guard role for the Celtics. He literally does everything. This is his best season by far to me. I've really been impressed with Jason Tatum. He's picking his shots. He can dominate a game scoring. He can dominate a game playmaking. He's just been great. Jason Tatum gets hated too much. That's the Jason Tatum, appreciation portion of the video. Again, it's not as fun to talk about the role players because we already saw them do this, but I know all these pictures against New York. By the way, that's why the Knicks are not in this video anywhere near. The Knicks are frauds. So now I'm going to bring up pretty much the only 2 cons with the Boston Celtics, and it starts off with Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis really needs to stay healthy for the Celtics to win a title this year. Al Horford just keeps getting older. He's not getting any younger. And I think that the Al Horford minutes are going to look not as great as they've looked in the past in the playoffs, especially against Evan Mobley and Al Horford and Jared Allen and stuff like that. So they're really going to need Kristaps Porzingis to, be healthy. The only thing with the Celtics with me is I think they're a little too reliant on the 3-point shot, and it's such a high variance shot. And I'll explain what I mean. They take so many 3-pointers that when they're hot, they're pretty much blowing out every team in the NBA. But when they're missing, they're losing to the Indiana Pacers. Like, that's just where the Celtics are. When they're missing a lot of threes, they can lose by 10, 15 points to almost anyone in the NBA. You just have to hope, and you have to assume that the Celtics aren't going to go cold from 4 games in the series. But yeah, the Celtics, in my opinion, most likely team to win the title. Celtics have everything to win a title. They have 2 superstar players. They've looked pretty much the same since last year. They fell off maybe a little bit, but they still have a flawless roster, and they just won the title, so they're the prohibited favorites to win the title. I do think that the NBA is a lot more wide open than it was last year. So yeah, like the video.